At Houston's historic Eldorado Ballroom in 3rd Ward, I sat down with 4 women to talk about politics, power, and their frustration with the Democratic Party. Black women are often called the party's backbone. In recent elections, more than 90% have voted for Democratic candidates, making them one of the most loyal voting blocs in the country. But many say that the loyalty hasn't always translated to representation or influence. So we talked about what that disconnect feels like and what they want to see change. Thank you, Reverend Guest. It is a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas. I proudly say that. I'm an attorney. I'm practicing in Wilson Estates. My family has a commercial real estate business. We've been around for about 40 years. My father was the first Black director of real estate for the city of Houston, and he decided to step out on faith, open up his own commercial real estate business, and I proudly serve as the attorney for that business.
What are your feelings now, given where we are and about where Black women are and the party as well? What are you thinking?
There's been a shift in our party too, towards more elitism.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, people have argued, oh, the Democratic Party's not elitist, we're not this, we're not that, but there's been a shift where our leadership has been more aligned with, I would say, more conservative. So if you're going to be a party of the working class, of the people, you're going to have to start shifting your values back this way. But the Democratic Party has to decide who they want to be, because the Republican Party did a great job of reaching out to working class Americans, when in the past they were viewed as elitist. They were viewed as the party that were for businessmen, for people that wanted to make money, and automatically left the working class behind.
Well, it's interesting because the history, the Republican Party was where Black people
Yes. Initially.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah.
And then because of this whole value system, the values seem to more sway toward the Democratic Party of the values that, working class Black people were looking for or had.
And especially during Lyndon Johnson's time with the Civil Rights Act and the movement and all that.
And so many of them moved over to the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And Black women overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly. We've always supported overwhelmingly. I think we're always going to support overwhelmingly. I think it's in our DNA to support overwhelmingly. Now we need greater access to leadership. Don't just use us for our organizing ability. And a lot of us are showing that we can get elected. A lot of us are showing that these days. We have to have the money and the commitment to push it forward, but we also have to have a strategic agenda. I think at the end of the day, if we're looking at Black women being elevated on a national level through the Democratic Party, we have to have a message that resonates with different parts of the base and Americans in general. And I'm hoping that the Democratic Party can do this. They will definitely need the leadership of Black women to accomplish it.
My name's Haley. So I'm 41. I have 4 kids. I've been married for almost 20 years. I was born in Seattle, Washington, raised in Louisiana, and then moved to Houston for job opportunity. So that is pretty much my life.
What do you hope the Democratic Party does in the future in terms of its support of Black women, its support its support in general?
What I hope that the Democratic Party sees is the exhaustion, and that they could lose a huge majority of their supporters if they don't step in and step up. We had Mrs. Obama, who always talked about, if they go low, we go high. But at what point do we just continue to allow people just to walk all over us? at what point do we continue to turn the other cheek? I think now is the time for Black women and the Democratic Party to not turn the other cheek. We consistently hear everywhere, from social media to podcasts to our news channels, all the racist rhetoric that is going on. And it is time for the Democratic Party to step up and to boldly and plainly and loudly say that this is not America, and we're not going to allow you to say these things about the women who have literally propped up the Democratic Party for years. And I think if they don't do that, then that's going to cost us
even more.
Even more.
Yeah.
Even more. Like, because imagine if the 90+% of Black women stop voting.
I can't even imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, hello, we're here, but we aren't going to be here forever just for you to walk all over us all the time. So, we need you as a whole, as a party, to recognize the things that we have done and to boldly state that enough is enough. It's time for us to be more powerful in our voices.
I am a Houston native. Actually, I was born in Missouri City, born and raised. I have 4 daughters, aged 3 to 11. Happily married. I live in Missouri City still. I'm a partner. I practice construction litigation at a boutique litigation firm. I used to be a teacher before I became a lawyer, so I've kind of had 2 professional lives. So that's me in a nutshell.
I think that's the best of both worlds. You know how to, educate and litigate.
Yes.
Tell me how you're feeling. I've talked to some who are like still in the fight, ready to take it on, and then some who are saying, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna rest.
I understand feeling as though you kind of want people to understand what the consequences of their choices are. I get that. But I also am a mom to 4 daughters, and I've never been one to sit down for very long. I've always been the kind of person that's like, you know what, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it myself. That's not to say that I can't appreciate every woman that has laid down their gloves and they're like, nope, not anymore, count me out. I get it. Now it's everybody else's turn to pick up the battle.
But you have done something unique. You have started your own way of addressing this. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so actually I have to give a lot of credit to my co-founder, Jamie Bertrand, who she was getting really frustrated, and the 17 propositions had come out last November, or they were getting ready to be on the ballot. She had no idea what they were, so we're talking. I have a legal background, and we're kind of very frustrated and just, what do people know about this? And just put on social media, does anybody want to come talk about this? And we met at a tea shop, and there was 5 of us there. And of the 5, Jamie and I were the only ones who really knew about these 17 propositions coming up. And then that led to us saying, you know what, this is unacceptable. What's happening? This is why people are voting the way they vote, because they don't understand. My teacher background was telling me I need people to know better, right? Like, we need to teach them. If they knew what they were voting for, they probably would feel differently about voting. They probably want to engage more. In that effort, we created Fort Bend Voter Education Coalition, which we're in the process of forming it as a nonprofit. We're holding voter education events. We're bringing candidates to the community. And so we're not going to stop. We said we were going to keep, even if one person showed up, it would be worth it.
I love the effort that you're making with your organization. Do you have any fears about not reaching enough people to vote, or not reaching enough of us to get out there to make a difference?
I don't have any fears about it. I feel like we're already there. I feel like that's the battle I signed up for. I think, it's hard. I can't be scared in this. I think the one thing that maybe scares me is what's going to happen if we continue down the road we're on. That, I think, is the most frustrating thing. But Like I said, we're going to keep going. If I can change one person's mind, if I can bring one person into the light and have them become engaged, that's good for me. It's going to give me enough to keep going. And then hopefully that one person will bring another person. But it's already an uphill battle. We just decided that we were going to go for it regardless.
For coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am a mother first and foremost, so everything that I do now, it starts with mother. It balances my life, and as Black women, we could do way too much, but it's our kids who allow us to say yes and no. So I am a professor, associate professor of sociology at Texas Southern University. I've been there about 16 years. For many years now, I've been really active politically, definitely with civic engagement. I served as a former vice chair of the Texas Democratic Party. For almost 4 years, I stepped down to run for lieutenant governor of Texas as a Democratic candidate. And I worked with a number of candidates. I was the state advisor for Bloomberg for president for his Texas campaign. So I've been around.
So you're very familiar with the inner workings of the Democratic Party?
Oh, very, very, very familiar.
How are you feeling now about how Black women and the Democratic Party are in sync or not?
Joy, today, I wish I could say it was any different than 20, 30, 40 years ago, but we've been in a place in terms of Black women where we've had to make a decision to be on board, to be committed, to be in formation since even pre-Fannie Lou Hamer. We've been knowing those stories. We know the power of voting, and so I think that through the years, we have kind of thought about how we will engage, but we have never stopped engaging.
What are your students saying? Well, you're educating the next generation of voters. What are they saying?
Some of my students are not as engaged. Some of our students don't know. So we can see the band in terms of education, in terms of the factors that, the digital divide, all of that's playing a role on how students embrace our current events. Some of them are very much aware of, issues that relate to either gun violence, even democracy. But I think we have some work to do to figure out how will we re-engage our youth, our young adults, to get them, back involved. Because one of the subjects I teach is social movements, and I always tell our students and anyone I talk to about that, hey, any successful social movement you come across has students involved.
Yeah, I remember you said that
yes,
to me. Yes,
and that is, if you miss that, then you miss where you really are in the movement. And are you having a movement or are you having a moment? Those are two different things. And the last 20 years, for those who have not taken my social movement class, they have been able to identify that we've had some moments, but we have a ways to go to really take that leap and have the human movement that we need to have in this country to keep moving forward towards the promises of democracy. We've got a ways to go.
Knowing what you know now, would you run again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can't stop running, Joy. History shows if Rosa had stopped running, if Shirley Chisholm had not run, she knew, I found out, I do so much research, W. Du Bois ran. We can't stop running. Are we gonna win all of our races? No. But when we get in those races and we're real clear about our platforms and we have enough connections and access, you can still push an agenda. And for the Democratic Party in particular, it has to be pushed. If it's not pushed, it may not go in the direction, as Barbara Jordan would say, towards the promises of democracy. We have to, and if we don't run, who's gonna do it? So will I run tomorrow? Probably not. But is it off the table? Probably not.
The women I spoke with are voters, mothers, professionals, and community leaders. Like many Black women across the country, they are thinking deeply about what political loyalty should look like and what they want in return from the party they have long supported.